Good evening. You're watching the news on Croatian television. Prime Minister Andrej Plenković is in Brussels for a two-day summit of EU leaders to address issues related to defense, migration and Brexit. The migration issue was brought to the forefront by European Council President Donald Tusk, who wrote a memo saying migration quotas were ineffective and highly divisive. The European Commissioner for Migration strongly disagreed.
It is an anti-European, and it denies, it ignores all the work we have done during the past 3 years. This paper is undermining one of the main pillars of the European project, the principle of solidarity.
Meanwhile, Prime Minister Plenković said Croatia was an active and responsible player in mitigating the migrant crisis.
The important thing was that we came together regarding our external politics to reach an agreement with Turkey. This resulted in us lowering the number of illegal migrants coming through the so-called Balkan route over the past 2 years by around 98%. In any case, Croatia is respecting and fulfilling its duties regarding the processing and resettling of migrants.
The Prime Minister and his Slovenian counterpart Miro Cerar confirmed they would meet on the sidelines of the summit to discuss the border arbitration issue.
We have met 6 times since September. We are in continuous contact. Our talks are always very serious and detailed, but it's not just us. Our experts are also in continuous contact. The deadline for implementing the border ruling has expired, and from the Slovenian side, we are completely ready. At the same time, we cannot do this alone, especially in regard to the land border. I expect Croatia to be cooperative so that we may reach an agreement.
Croatia, along with Ireland and Denmark, has recorded the strongest growth in industrial output in October among EU member states compared to the previous month. On an annual level, industrial production in Croatia increased by 4.3%. However, Ireland saw the strongest growth, almost 3 times that, followed by Slovenia, Poland and Romania. Meanwhile, Denmark, Malta and the Netherlands all saw a decline in industrial output year on year. Defense Minister Damir Krstičević confirmed that the ministry's expert commission has decided on the best offer between Sweden, the United States, Israel and Greece regarding the purchase of multi-purpose fighter aircraft to replace Croatia's aging MiGs. The choice must now be approved by the National Defense Council before government gives the final word.
We all want the best option, but the best option is also the most expensive. In that regard, it's important to make a purchase that will not burden the overall development of the armed forces and the Croatian state budget. I am certain that the government will take this into consideration and make the best possible decision. Another important point is overall investment. Our partner must also reinvest in Croatia so that this isn't just an expense for us, but an opportunity to boost employment, as well as the necessary technological know-how.
A number of former POWs from Bosnia and Herzegovina who had been interned in Croat-run camps announced last week they were considering a lawsuit against the Republic of Croatia in light of the recent verdicts in The Hague. Meanwhile, MPs from both sides of the political spectrum feel the ICTY verdicts cannot serve as the foundation for a lawsuit because they were against individuals and not the Croatian state.
I am convinced that Croatia is not responsible and that no reparations need to be paid. That is my opinion as a politician and a citizen of this country. Of course, everyone has the right to make claims, but in the end, it's the court that will decide.
Furthermore, Veterans Affairs Minister Tomo Medved and President Kolinda Grabar-Kitarović commented on the war crimes charges brought against the 6 men who planned and carried out the rocket attack on the government buildings in Zagreb 26 years ago.
I expect equal treatment to be levied against other nations who committed crimes against Croatian civilians and soldiers. As you all know, practically on a weekly basis we uncover mass graves on Croatian territory. Those specific crimes were committed by specific people.
When charges are filed, it must be absolutely certain that they have a solid foundation, so that they are not simply thrown out. I believe that in the end, justice will prevail. Sometimes it comes late, but it's always better late than never.
In other news, more than a dozen of Agricor's largest suppliers have formed their own association. The group expects smaller suppliers and creditors to join their ranks in the near future. The CEO of Podravka, Marin Pucar, was chosen as the association president. He said their goal was to protect the interests of suppliers and also keep the supply chain and sales networks open.
We would like to create a stable and unified model so that in the future all suppliers and the Croatian economy as a whole can function successfully and sustainably for years to come.
We all have the same interests in the long run. Firstly, for us suppliers to thrive, for banks to cope with their losses in the least painful way possible, and for a healthy Agrokor, or whatever it will be called in the future, to continue functioning for the greater good of the Croatian economy.
President Kolinda Grabar-Kitarović is on day 2 of her stay in Koprivnica, Križevci County. Today she met with local business leaders and tradesmen. The biggest problem cited by local business people was heavy taxation, which she says keeps salaries low and drives younger workers to seek better opportunities elsewhere.
I got a fairly good look at the situation here on the ground. The most glaring problems faced by entrepreneurs, tradesmen, and farmers are administrative in nature. They include poor communication with government ministries, state agencies, and everyone who is responsible for ensuring their jobs are done right, as well as concerns with the VAT system and taking advantage of EU funds. I think what we really need is to lessen our tax burden. This will lead to an overall financial stimulus that we can then pass on to our workers and reinvest in our companies.
Taking a quick look at sports in Eurocup Basketball League action, Cedevita was defeated by Andorra 78-71 in Andorra last night. After 8 rounds of play, Cedevita is third in the 6-team Group A with 4 wins and 4 losses. Their next game is against Unix Kazan in Russia on December 20th. The forecast for tomorrow calls for overcast skies with heavy rains, especially in the first half of the day. Expect thunderstorms in coastal areas and snow in mountainous regions. Snow could spread to lower elevations in the late evening. There will be a moderate to strong southwesterly in the interior and on the northern Adriatic. Northern Dalmatia will see a strong southerly, while the rest of Dalmatia will see a strong to gale force southeasterly. Morning lows of 5 to 9 degrees inland and 9 to 13 on the coast will give way to highs of 11 to 16 degrees Celsius. The 3-day forecast for the interior calls for an end to this week's strong southerly winds and unseasonably warm weather. A significant drop in temperature will see heavier snowfall in mountainous regions and light snow in lower elevations overnight into Saturday morning. Skies will begin to clear in the afternoon, giving way to at least partly sunny skies on Sunday. It will, however, be significantly colder than on Saturday, by as much as 10 degrees in some places. The Adriatic coast will see heavy rains on Saturday, especially in the south, where there will be a strong to gale force southeasterly. The northern coast could see some snowdrift carried from hinterland areas by gale force northeasterly. Strong to gale force northeasterly winds will spread to the rest of the coast on Sunday, which will be noticeably colder. Monday will bring with it more stable weather and milder winds, but even colder mornings. And that brings us to the end of our program. Thanks for watching. We'll see you again tomorrow night.